meetings. We're going to record each of these meetings, so those of our volunteers who were not able to attend can still know what we talked about and what's coming up and what's happening. So it is our very first weekly Northern Nevada Volunteer Opportunities meeting. First thing on the agenda was to record the meeting. We can check that off. Second is a welcome. So if there's anybody on the line who doesn't know, I'm Sherry. I also go by Bear, especially when we're working on preparedness events. I'm the Northern Nevada Disaster Program Manager, which means I work with all of our volunteers in disaster cycle services, our community partners that may support disaster cycle services, and our government partners. And I'm kind of the person who brings that all together. Today, we're going to talk about our volunteer opportunities and things that we've recently done. But before we get started on those things, I want to talk about just some basic stuff. I had a great meeting today with one of our long-term volunteers, and I realized there's a lot of just basic stuff, whether it's in Teams or in volunteer connection, that would just be good for us to know and go over. So each week at these meetings, I'm going to cover some basics. So one of the first basics things I'm going to cover is in Teams. So I'm going to open this window back up. Can you guys all still see my Teams window?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the questions that came up today is, where do I go if I need help in Teams or if I need to know how to do something? And it is simply to click on the help button. And what we realized when we went to just go into Teams and click on the help button is just like in this window, do you guys see a help button anywhere? I do not. And what we realized is that this volunteer, he had his screen minimized, and he also could not see the help button we were looking for. So if you're in a live meeting like we are in this window, you cannot see the help button. If you go into your normal Teams window, you have a help button here in the lower left-hand screen. Do you guys know how to get to this window here to your calendar? Do you know how to open up Teams to see the other options in Teams other than just joining a meeting? Can I get a show of hands from people?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So this is one of the things, honestly, I just thought people knew. So you can install Teams. So it's an application on your computer, just like another program. So you have an icon on your home page, on your home screen. Or you can get to it online. If you are in a web browser, you can go to it by going to Teams, and you can do Teams download, or you can go to teams.microsoft.com and you can sign in. And it's going to give you access to all of these menu options over here, like your calendar. On your calendar, you should have all of the different meetings that you've been invited to, and you can join from the calendar. So here's the meeting we're in right now. I can click on join if I needed to rejoin the meeting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Hi, Sherry.
Yeah.
This is Mike Allgaier.
Hi, Mike.
It's been a while since I've been into the Teams, and I did do that right at the start of becoming involved with Red Cross, but it seems like nothing's there for me and I think it's because I don't have a Red Cross email. Is that correct?
So-
I access it through the browser. All these meetings I just access through a browser right now, even though I have Teams meeting.
So I need to find out about that, Mike. I thought you could have a Teams account that looked like this without a Red Cross email, but I need to verify it before I answer that 100% certainty.
And I need to go back and check again myself as well.
Okay, and we're going to talk about a Red Cross email in a minute, and I'm glad you brought that up. So the other place you guys can go to see the meetings you've been invited to is in your Outlook calendar. So if you use Outlook as your email service, you should also have these icons or these menu options, and you can click on your calendar button. And you can also see these meetings in your Outlook calendar. And you should be able to, so here's the meeting for today, be able to click on it and join through your Outlook calendar as well. So Mike, that might be an option if you don't have a Red Cross email address.
Okay, I'll check it all out. Thanks.
But thank you for bringing that up. And if you don't mind sharing what you find out with us at our next meeting, and I will also share it as well. But that's how I'm going to understand, you guys, what you do know and what you don't know about the tools that we use. This meeting, again, is an opportunity for us to go over all of those basics and those things that I may take for granted because I've been in Red Cross a while and I've been using these tools a lot. It's kind of like our acronyms. The more you use them, the more it just becomes your common language and you forget the basics, right? You forget to go back and share those steps with folks that you learned at the very beginning and may not remember that you learned at the beginning. So thank you, Mike, for bringing up the Red Cross email. You guys, as Red Cross volunteers, do not necessarily need a Red Cross email, but it can be helpful as you start doing more things and volunteering in more ways. For example, you will have full access to the Microsoft suite of programs. So you get Teams, you get Excel, you get Word. A lot of you already have those programs, but if you don't, you can get them free through Red Cross by getting a Red Cross email, and you become what's considered part of the organization as far as a redcross.org organization. You're part of the organization as a volunteer, but you actually get those credentials with the Red Cross email address. It can be tricky, right, Leslie?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a Red Cross email address, email me and let me know and I can get you one, but also I'll walk you through what to expect because there are some IT challenges that come with it. Because once you have a Red Cross email address, you will probably want to make that your primary address. And there's some steps that are involved in that, especially if you work with our disaster action team or our recovery teams. Because it impacts RC care and RC respond a little bit differently. Does anyone have any questions about a Red Cross email address or any feedback about their experience getting a Red Cross email address? Okay, crickets. Another basic thing that I want to show you guys today, I started showing you in Teams, was that help feature. So if you can get to this window or any window in Teams where you see this help button, If you click on it, it's going to bring up another menu and you can go to training. This is going to have a bunch of short little videos on all of the different things you'll probably want to know how to do in Teams. And they're probably better than I could show you. And they go from everything from like this one, what is Microsoft Teams? It talks about the basics of the program, how to access different things, a quick start guide, how to chat and how to share files. If you've ever wondered in meetings what they're talking about, how to share and chat, that's it, it'll go over that with you. It'll also show you how to record a meeting or share your screen. All of those different things you may want to know are going to be easily found in here. So let's just say I want to know how to share my screen. Share my screen. I just typed in share my screen and it'll go through and tell you really easily how to do it. Sometimes there's videos that'll show you step by step how to do it. So that's my basics tip for Teams today. I'm also going to go over a basics tip for volunteer connection. If it'll take me home, go home. If you guys are wondering what is happening with our disaster cycle services team, the easiest way to know is to go to my groups and to find Disaster Services Workforce Northern Nevada. Most of you are not going to have as many groups in your drop down as I do, because I have a lot of regional groups that I'm part of. But regardless of how many you have, you're going to be looking for the one that's called Disaster Services Workforce NNV for Northern Nevada. And if you click on that, it's essentially our little web page for disaster cycle disaster services for disaster cycle services. And if we want to see what's going on, we just click on this calendar. And it's going to bring up all of the different events and training that we have coming up for disaster cycle services. It also has all the birthdays of all of our volunteers. So if you want to watch for birthdays and reach out to somebody you know and give them an extra special birthday wish, you can. Also, this meeting and all of the other meetings are on there. So let's say you forget how to get into Teams, or you forget how to get the link from your email or from your calendar. You can go into this calendar, click on it, and it's not, because the meeting already started, it's not available for registration. I'm going to fix that, but you would be able to click on the registration button and it would give you the link for the meeting today. So you'll see it next week, as it's not on there for next week, but you will see for like our preparedness work group meeting. They happen every week at 3 o'clock. If we click on the register button for next week, it is going to say you've been registered. It then sends me an email. That looks like this. It says confirmation for this meeting, and it should have had the link for the Teams meeting, and it doesn't. So that's something I need to go back and fix. But once you get this confirmation, it should have the link for the meeting. So you can refer back to it that way as well. Anyone have any questions about the calendar or where to go for different things that they can find out about upcoming events or how to sign up for them? All right. We're going to go back to our agenda. So we're going to talk about a few of the things that we've been participating in. On July 2nd, I want to say a big shout out and thank you to anyone who's on the call that attended the Incline Village Heroes Parade and Fair. It was a parade and a tabling event. Anyone on the line that can give us some feedback about how it went? Okay. Bruce was in charge, Bruce Burwager, and we had several volunteers attend. I think it went well, but I haven't received any specific feedback yet about the event. I did see a really cool picture. But basically we were there, we participated in a parade, and we had volunteers that worked at tabling event, hopefully recruiting volunteers and sharing about our preparedness programs. More specifically in Incline about wildfire preparedness because they're really susceptible in the mountainous area. On the 7th, which was that Friday? Thursday or Friday?
It was Friday.
Betsy, Gail, and Leslie, actually this should say Leslie, not Bear, presented to about 25 Girl Scouts. Leslie, for the first time, did a Prepare with Pedro presentation. Betsy and Gail teamed up and did the Pillowcase Project presentation. And we're always looking for more volunteers who would like to present to our youth clubs and our kids in schools. We have a little bit of a lull in July because school's out of session and we've presented to a few youth programs. But if you're interested in learning how to present to any of our youth, starting from kindergarten all the way through high school, please let me know. We'll get you the training and you can go and help support at events until you want to be the presenter yourself. But it's really fun. Leslie, tell us a little bit about presenting to the kiddos. Is it fun?
Oh, it really was fun. They were very young, like, I think the oldest was probably, 7. And they sat there in their corner and circle, and I tried my best to tell them all about how they could prepare themselves if something serious happens. I guess it's more like an emergency.
Yep.
So they all participated very well. It was a lot of fun.
And does everyone on the line know what our preparedness program is? Prepare with Pedro for our kids that are in kindergarten through 2nd grade.
So what we do is we just we talk about what happens if they're scared and how we can help them overcome that. We tell them how we gee whiz.
No, you're doing great.
No, well, we try to teach them how to not to touch the doors a certain way. Try to teach them how to go low and get out within 2 minutes, and where they want to go for their special place to stand outside of the house or the residence.
Yeah.
You know,
And to take that information home and hopefully share it with their family. So they do their own family planning and disaster practice at home. And it's a really fun way for our little ones to start learning about disaster preparedness, whether it's for a home fire or flooding or earthquakes. And Leslie is our preparedness coordinator for our youth programs. And she does a fantastic job engaging our schools and our communities and signing up for these programs. Gail, would you mind sharing a little bit? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to, but if you do, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about our pillowcase project and how it is sharing with those kiddos. Maybe Gail wasn't able to join us. She might not have been able to join us at this meeting. Okay, essentially, our pillowcase project is for our kiddos that are in 3rd to 5th grade. And it's the same thing. We're basically teaching them about disaster preparedness, whether it be a home fire, earthquake, or any other type of hazard that they might be susceptible to in their area, how they can prepare for it, specifically go kit items that would go in a pillowcase that they can use as a go kit should they have to evacuate for any different type of hazard. And Gail Bursell and Betsy Morse are our primary presenters. We do have a few other presenters, but they've been doing an outstanding job the last few months presenting to a lot of different kiddos in 3rd to 5th grade. And again, always looking for more presenters and support for those presentations. So if you have any interest in supporting our kiddos, please reach out to Leslie or reach out to me. Leslie is at leslie.hall@redcross.org. I am at sherry.lewis@redcross.org. And you guys can always call me or send me a text too if you just want to chat about it. The other thing that we did this past week was we went out to Mogul and Sun Valley with teams and did wildfire preparedness education walkarounds at residents' homes. We also did smoke alarm installations or smoke detector installations for those who wanted them. But the most exciting part is we worked with Truckee Meadows Fire, Team Rubicon, and Living with Fire. And it was a real collaborative group effort to go out to these 10 homes, educate them on how they could make their homes a little bit more resilient should a wildfire approach from the wildland nearby where they live. All of the homes were in a wildland urban interface area. And then Team Rubicon and Truckee Meadows Fire were able to do some recommended mitigation work at those homes. So I cannot tell you how many truckloads of tree limbs, trunks, branches, other type of vegetation was taken out to a green waste disposal site by all those teams of individuals. And we really made a positive impact educating, installing smoke detectors, and removing debris from those homes. The other exciting piece of it is that we generated more interest out in those areas, and we have future opportunities to really get in those communities and help people make their homes a bit more resilient and safer should a wildfire approach. And we were able to help some individuals who really couldn't get out there and do the work themselves for all sorts of different reasons, but mainly because they were older, they've been in these homes for a lot of years, and they just simply weren't able to do the work themselves. Getting out there and getting on the ground under their decks, weeding and doing things that Team Rubicon and Truckee Meadows Fire were really able to get in and get at. Huge, gigantic shout out to Sherry Reisinger, who coordinated the whole event, worked with our community partners, got everybody on the same page, made sure everyone understood what their role was, and made a positive impact. Sherry, are you on the line with us? I'm not sure if she was able to attend today either. But I cannot say thank you enough to her for all of her efforts and the outstanding work, and more to come on future ways to participate. We're still doing the after action and getting with our partners to see how we can do more of these mitigation efforts and preparedness efforts with our partners out in the field. Some things that we have upcoming that we need volunteers for. First thing that's coming up, we don't need any volunteers for this, but I do want to take an opportunity to give a huge shout out to Al Wagner, because he has done outstanding work out in the Fallon area, getting the word out about what Red Cross does in regards to preparedness, but also disaster response. He's worked with our emergency managers. And tomorrow, he and Mary Powell, our executive director for a bit of time, are going to meet with our tribal emergency manager out there in Churchill County to do even more collaboration and outreach on how we can respond as an organization to any disasters that might happen on tribal lands out in Churchill County, out in the Fallon area. So, huge opportunities. If you guys, as volunteers, want to know how you can participate in conversations with the emergency managers, either in your county, your city or town, if it's incorporated, or the tribal nations that are near where you live, let me know, because it's always an amazing asset to have a local person volunteer at these meetings, in these conversations, so that our partners, our government and our non-government partners, know they have a local person in their community representing Red Cross, and that's readily available for any questions they have or to connect them with the right people in our organization. On July 29th, we have a table reserved at the Douglas County Sheriff's Mounted Posse. It's an all-day event at the Douglas County Fairgrounds. It's an opportunity for us to talk about our wildfire preparedness programs. Very much a hazard in Douglas County, wildfires are. It gives us an opportunity to talk about our home fire safety programs, and our smoke detector installation program. It also is a great opportunity for volunteer recruitment. So we're looking for volunteers to drive the ERV and to work at that tabling event. So anybody on the line interested? Leslie Hall is interested. All right. We're putting you up for tabling, Leslie, because you're not an ERV driver yet, right?
No.
Do you want to be an ERV driver?
Oh, sure.
Well, anybody who wants to be an ERV driver, reach out, let me or Jim Gardner know. Jim Gardner, I saw you on the line earlier. He's the one who will meet with you on site after you do the online training and requirements to give you an orientation of the ERV, show you on scene all of the expectations, how to take it out, do the inspections. What else do you show us, Jim?
Basically, just so that they can be a driver and not into the feeding program, but just an ERV driver. And they'll know everything there is to know about the ERV.
And how to use it for our chapter. So Jim touched on it, and I touched on it a little bit too. We will use our urban parades and at community events because it's an awesome eyepiece, right? It has Red Cross branding all over it. People are curious about it. It kind of looks like an ambulance. They're like, what is that for? Jim also touched on the fact that we use it for feeding. So when there is a disaster, a lot of times our ERV drivers are also, they have a feeding gap. So they'll go out and they'll do mobile feeding on disasters. So if you want to be an ERV driver to support our local chapter during steady state events like parades or tabling events, that's an opportunity. Or if you want to learn how to go use it during a disaster, sometimes it's used for distribution of emergency supplies too, but mostly for feeding. You can learn how to do that. Colleen, you have your hand raised.
Oh, yes, hi. So is there more online training required specifically to be an ERV driver?
There is, you
Okay.
have, there's a bit of training, and I can, actually, it's not on, I will email it to you, Colleen, if you're interested.
Oh, okay, thank you, yes.
Absolutely.
I'm interested, thank you.
And anyone else who's interested, please put your name in chat or let me know. If you're not sure how to put it in chat, you can access your chat by clicking on this button. And I'm going to put my email address in here right now so you have it handy. That's how you put something in chat.
So excuse me, Sherry, one final question about this.
Yes.
So was it Jim who actually provides some in-person training on this?
Yep.
Okay, but there's online training required specifically before we do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And
thank
that's
you.
what I'll send to you. And
Okay, great.
I'll also include Jim's email. I'll copy him in so you have his email address and his phone number as well. Is that okay, Jim?
Yep.
Perfect. And part of what Jim does is also a drive test. I don't want that to sound scary to anyone, but it's just to make sure that you understand how to use the vehicle. There are some tricky parts about it. You have to remember how to turn the main battery on and off and different tricks. So he's there to give you guys all of that education and wisdom. It's not scary, but it's something you definitely want to pay attention to. So after we get more people trained up, maybe we'll have more volunteers for that. The other event we have coming up, which is a little bit a ways away from our chapter office and our main Reno area, is Lovelock Frontier Days. So it's actually a multiple day event. There's a parade on Saturday. So we'll need an ERV driver for the parade on Saturday, but also just to be at the event as an eyepiece. We will also need some tabling hosts to talk about those same things on the wildfire preparedness. They have maybe less of a concern out in Lovelock, but wildfires can still approach quickly and fast out there. Our home fire safety, which is applicable everywhere, and then our volunteer recruitment. We could really use some more volunteers out in the central part of Nevada, and we don't have any in Lovelock right now that I'm aware of. We will have an opportunity to do preparedness presentations at Lovelock Frontier Days if we want to. So if we can find some presenters, that would be wonderful as well. Anyone interested in becoming a preparedness presenter, whether it be for our community preparedness education programs that are for really, I would say, middle school on up. That includes hands-only CPR, Be Red Cross Ready, Ready Rating, our home fire campaign. If you guys want to be presenters, installers, or support any of those preparedness programs, let me know. I mentioned earlier, you can reach out to Leslie if it's a youth preparedness program. You can reach out to Sherry Reisinger if it is any of the other community preparedness education programs. And I'll put their names in chat. So that you have them handy. Does anyone have any questions about our programs? While I'm typing this in. Okay. Okay, so those are our two tabling events that we have coming up. On September 11th and September 13th, we have Prepare with Pedro and Pillowcase Project presentations in Lockwood and Virginia City. We have presenters lined up, but if you guys are interested in observing or supporting either of those, please reach out to Leslie and let her know. We'd love to have you there. Another thing I'd like to invite everyone on this call to is our preparedness meetings. They happen every week at 3 o'clock. So just before this meeting, we have our preparedness meeting, and it's when we really talk the details of our upcoming events, who's going to participate in them, what they're going to do with them. And then we also have opportunities to do training on our preparedness programs. So at our next preparedness meeting, Erica is going to be presenting on how to do community outreach to collect Go Kit items. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But also, we're going to try and coordinate a training for our Ready Rating program. And when we coordinate those trainings, it's usually with Ashley Sheehy, who is our regional preparedness training lead, preparedness lead for all of Utah and Nevada. So at each of these meetings, we try and incorporate a training component if there's time. Sometimes we are planning for so many events that we just have time to talk about what's coming up and who's doing what. But when we kind of have lulls like we do in July, we have training opportunities. It also is an opportunity for you to meet some of our regional leadership. I'm hoping at this meeting we can start bringing in some of our other regional leadership so you guys, one, start meeting them and understanding who they are and what their roles are in the region, because it's kind of hard when someone works in Utah to understand how they can support you as a volunteer here in Northern Nevada. So that's what these meetings are for, along with what we've also discussed. We're also going to talk at these meetings about different opportunities, ways that you can support our chapter. So one of the needs that's been identified as we've been doing these preparedness presentations and attending these tabling events and community events is that we give a lot of education about what people need to have in Go Kits. And when I say Go Kits, I mean what people should have on the ready to evacuate with. So if they have to leave their home because of a home fire at their home, or they have to evacuate because a wildfire is approaching or another hazard has impacted them and displaced them from their home, what do they need in those Go Kits to be ready to go in a moment's notice? Our preparedness programs talk about that, right? We teach that to our really small kids through Prepare with Pedro. We talk about it with our older youth with the Pillowcase Project, and then our other community preparedness programs for our older youth and adults. What some of the feedback is that I've received is not all of these folks have the means to go buy the stuff that's needed for their Go Kits. And the items I'm talking about are like the flashlights, the batteries, the radio. So one of the things I've been trying to brainstorm on is how can we do drives or outreach to gather some of these items. Erica Smith, Erica, do you mind coming? I'm going to stop sharing. Do you mind introducing yourself to the team for those of you who are not familiar with who you are and what your role is?
My name is Erica Smith. Let me see if I can flick my camera on really quick. Hang on. I have to get it to
Sorry,
work.
I
Let's
didn't
see.
mean to put you on the spot, but I realized maybe
Oh, you're
not all of
totally
our
fine.
volunteers know you.
No worries. Erica Smith. I am the volunteer recruitment specialist for Northern Nevada. So I'm based in Reno. And I'm in, I have to recruit volunteers for all of Northern Nevada. So Um, yeah, what else what were you asking? What else?
Well, I brought you kind of into the
Yeah,
conversation because
got
you're
it.
going to be training us on how to do some outreach and maybe inspire the community in ways that to give us these items. And you
Gotcha.
can tell us
Yeah.
why your background lends you to that, because for me, I don't know how to do that. So I asked for help at our preparedness meeting, and Erica was like, "Psh, I got that. I know how to do it. It's easy." And I'm like, please tell us. So she's going to teach us at our next meeting. So just give us kind of a little preview of that, I guess.
So, I don't know, a couple months ago I was in the office and we were talking, Sherry, about how we can better use our donor dollars and not have a bunch of stuff sitting in our warehouse. We can go out and ask the community to help us collect those items. These are great events for little kiddos. These are great for schools, um, all of those things, businesses. Bef Not before I came here, but my daughter is 24. She started a nonprofit when she was 8. She's now 24. And she collects toys for kids affected by fires and disasters. We had a house fire. Actually, we had 2. My husband's nowhere, so he won't hear me say that, but we had 2. And she started this program after she lost all of her toys. So literally, we fundraise. Actually, we toy raise all the time. So it's a easy thing, it's a fun thing. Kiddos really get behind it. So I am excited to bring that to us and get us some of those things that we could use. It may not be in your brain, Sherry, but it's certainly in mine.
Awesome. Well, and that's why this organization is so incredible, right? And why volunteers are so important. I don't know how to do everything, but we have a ton of volunteers and we have a ton of brain power. And I have full confidence that the people on our team can fill in any gaps that we have at any time for any of these things. But it's a matter about having the conversations and putting the ask out. And that's what this meeting is intended for each week. Because otherwise, there's a whole bunch of different conversations like Erica talked about. We talked about this a month ago in the office, but I really haven't had a way to
Mhm.
ask for the volunteers' help. So anybody who might be interested in doing that type of outreach, please join us at our preparedness meeting. Reach out to me, reach out to Erica, and we'd be happy to have your help and support in making that happen.
And it's very simple. When there's a disaster or there's an event that occurs, people always want to help. That's what they want to do. So they need something. If you say we need toothbrushes, toothpaste, and soap, you're going to get more toothbrushes, toothpaste, and soap than you can count. It's very simple. People are always willing to help. So very, very excited.
Awesome, awesome. And we've had specific requests from the
Right.
Fallon Youth Club and from Lovelock Frontier Days just
Okay.
for these specific Go Kit items. So we actually have events that we can reference that say that, we're working to gather these items for. So people can really feel like they're impacting their communities in a positive way. Like Erica said, people want to help. It's just a matter of asking.
Yep.
That leads to another phenomenal opportunity that we have for volunteers that requires no training. And that is Jean Held, one of our Rockstar volunteers, brought up an idea. She's like, we might get more people requesting us to come install smoke detectors if we focus on communities who've recently experienced a home fire. So I was like, oh my gosh, what a brilliant idea. Why haven't we done this before? But again, this is where our combined brain power makes a huge difference, everyone. Great idea. So now, after we respond to a DAP call, we're going to focus on that community and doing door hangers, hanging door hangers with the information, the contact phone number on that people need to call in order to have us come out and either test their existing smoke detectors or install new smoke detectors. Or for those who might have hearing challenges, install those bed shakers for free. And I was like, wow, Jean, what an incredible idea to really make an impact while that hazard is fresh in people's mind. So we're going to have opportunities to, one, go out and hang those door hangers in those areas that have been recently impacted by a home fire. And then two, hopefully increase our home fire campaign requests. And we may need more installers. Right now, we have teams, huge shout out to Kirk Yates and Fidel Cariazzi, who go out with their teams. Linda Newman, you're out there too. Go out each week and install smoke detectors to those who request them. Anybody who's interested on being on that team or supporting that team, or this new effort in getting the door hangers and education out to where we've responded to fires, please let me know. Shoot me an email or send me a text or give me a call. I'm putting my phone number in the chat right now. And we'll get you going. It's an incredible way to positively impact our communities. Like I said, no training required. Oh, there's a 4 missing in my phone number. I'm going to fix that really quick. So you guys, if you ever need to edit a message, you realize you post something in chat incorrectly, let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. If you guys ever see in chat how I accidentally put my phone number in there, but I'm missing a digit, you can click on these 3 dots and go to edit, and it will let you edit your message. So see, I can fix that now. Here's my phone number if anybody needs to call me. Does anyone have any questions about those opportunities we just talked about? All right. This meeting, again, is intended to talk about those different opportunities for you guys to raise your hand and say, oh, I've been curious about that. I may want to try doing that. Or just talk to other volunteers who have done it before about what they're doing. Right now, I see Cass Bonfiglio on the call. I'm going to bring you into the conversation for a minute, Cass, because Cass is part of our public affairs team. And she is who I send all the photos to when we're out at these events. And she shares them with the community. She makes sure they go out on social media and are used for future outreach to communities. Cass, how can we help you do what you do to get the word out about Red Cross?
Well, I think this is a great start because it helps me to know and understand what's coming up on your agenda, and especially in like rural areas, whether it be Fallon, Lovelock, Winnemucca, those areas that we've really been trying to make some inroads in. I work a lot with the media, and a lot of times out in those communities, like say Elko or something, they're interested in what we do as long as it's affecting their community, or that there's volunteers out there that are from the community. You mentioned before about, a local volunteer being pivotal to sort of selling a message. And that's what I find in this respect, that, like say Winnemucca, we've got volunteers out there, and they seem to pick up on the fact that we're doing things out there and it's with local people. But yeah, this helps me, like I say, be able to get our message out. When we have been out, like in the last year or so, especially places like Elko and Fallon, we'll get information out to the local media there so they can cover that event, because again, it does involve people that live in the community who happen to be Red Cross. So I got all your pictures the other day. I appreciate it. And I'm going to be working with our social media person out of Utah to get those posted. And what's great about it, I mean, there's several messages that come out of what you did out in Sun Valley, and that's not only the just helping the homeowner assess what their situation is, but the involvement of community partners, the smoke alarm installation program, and like you said, this is generating more interest about the Red Cross out in that community. We've always been there, but maybe they don't see us until we're out there, in person. So, I just say keep the information coming. And, I'm kind of I have Betsy that helps me out, and our communications director who's down in Southern Nevada. So anyway, any information, pictures that we can get, we're always happy to receive them. And it also helps us to come up with some nice news stories that we can pitch to the media or just put on our website. So I appreciate being invited to the meeting, and it's very helpful.
Well, Cass, thank you for all the hard work that you do, because you're not out there necessarily sometimes you're out there in the field with us taking pictures and reporting and doing all that stuff, but you're really part of all of our events, even if you're not present physically, because you do talk about and spread the word about the good work we're trying to do and the positive impact in our communities that we're trying to make. And like you said, a lot of great wins out of that past event. Really, with collaborating with our partners was super exciting. And that really makes our disaster responses that much easier when they come up too, because a lot of times it's similar faces that we might see. And it makes it that much easier for public affairs, but also just for our response efforts. So thank you so much, Cass. I really appreciate it. And we talked about at our preparedness meeting the importance of connecting you with PIOs as well, right, when there's other agencies involved. So we're going to get better with that.
Right. And I do have some connections already with some of the PIOs that we work with. And one thing I'd like to add, though, we're always looking for some good stories about our own volunteers. So it doesn't have to be about a client or an event or something, but as you guys go along and whatever you're participating in, some good volunteer stories are great for our website, for our newsletters, things like that, and because we like to spotlight them as much as we do the client or what we're doing out in the community.
And when you say stories and spotlight, is it the experiences they've had, their history? What is it that you like to spotlight?
Well, it can be something like, you might have a volunteer that, say, specializes in a community presentation all the time, or, Pedro, or Be Red Cross Ready or something. Sometimes they'll have something in their background that drives them to be, a volunteer in a particular area, or experience somebody's had when they've been deployed, because a lot of times, we know people go off out of state, across the country to help, and that's great. And they come back and they've got stories to tell, or lessons that they've learned. And, that's very helpful to all of us. And it's just interesting to know what our people are doing.
All right. Very cool. So, hey, if you guys ever go out on deployment, or you have a wonderful volunteer experience, or even maybe a not so wonderful volunteer experience that you think is worth sharing with the team, whether they can learn something from it or be inspired from it, please share it with Cass. Share it with me if you'd like me to forward it on to Cass, so that way we can just continue to grow our community and stay connected with one another and each other's experiences and what we're up to. With that, we are down to the last 5 minutes of the meeting. And I am hoping that as we have this meeting each week, our attendance will grow. People will bring questions and requests for training opportunities or just things that they've been struggling with and understanding in Red Cross, how it works, who they should go to for what, anything really at all. That's what this meeting is about and is going to be an open forum for. So the last 5 minutes, 4 minutes, I'd like to open it up and just say to those of you on the call, what do you think of this meeting today? What would you like to see at our next meeting? What would be helpful? Anyone?
Hey, this is Cass. I think that this is really helpful, and I appreciate seeing what's coming up and what you need help-wise. I'm wondering, would this be the proper forum to get the word out? Say, like in the office, if they need help at the reception desk, couple days a week, couple
Yes.
hours a week, those kinds of administrative things that maybe some people, for whatever reason, they can't go out to community events or tabling events, but they'd be happy to come in and answer the phone for a couple hours or, fill envelopes or do something in the office. Would this be the place to advertise that kind of information?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's why, honestly, all volunteers from Northern Nevada are invited to this meeting. We're mainly focusing on disaster cycle services, but to Cass's point, we're all one team here. So if it's our business operations that needs some support with volunteers in the office, this is the perfect place. If Erica needs some recruitment volunteers and support with some events and recruitment that's coming up, this is the perfect forum for that. Colleen, you have your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Sherry. Great meeting, very informative. So I appreciate it. And then I did attend last week virtually. There was a regional meeting headed by Fran. And in that meeting, they were emphasizing that we should all be logging our hours. And so my question is, should we log hours for this meeting, or do you do that, or how does that work?
No, great question. Thank you, Colleen, for asking. You should log hours for this meeting. Basically, anything that you do that's Red Cross related, if it's an email, a phone call, a meeting you attend, a training you attend, unless it's automatically added. If you do training in Edge, you don't have to record it separately. It will do it for you. But most meetings or anything that's not in Edge, you're going to need to add your hours. And if anybody needs to know how to do that, it's just right from your volunteer connection profile, right at the home page. You just click add hours and go fill in the fields here. If you do it incorrectly, you can go back in and fix it. So super easy to do, but thank you for asking, Colleen, because exactly this would be one of those times you want to enter them. Jim Gardner, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to just take 5 minutes and instruct people on how to complete the vehicle inspections for the fleet vehicles, which is just the pickup and the two, the Dodge Caravan and the Cruise. Just takes 5 minutes. I guess we're not completing them like Salt Lake City wants it. So I'd like everybody to be aboard with how to really complete, because it is a DOT form. And the reason we are DOT is because everybody but Reno has blood vehicles. And that's why it falls under Department of Transportation. inspection sheets. And I just like to do 5 minutes on how to fill those things out.
So Jim, at the next meeting, would you mind presenting that? Like, we'll do it at the very beginning and we'll talk about an authorized driver and then what you need for those forms. And I can actually have the form that I can do a share screen of with those highlighted fields. Like I'll scan one of the ones you did in the back.
Yeah.
And so we can actually talk about each of the fields. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to plan that, like we'll do our intro next week. And then we'll go right into that when we're talking about basics. Cool. I love that plan because I think a lot of people are confused by exactly what's required. I know I do the form each time, but I know that some people are like, well, if I'm only running a quick errand or doing this or that, I don't need to do the form. So I think it'll be super helpful for you to cover like when it's required, how we do it, and what the expectation from the region is, like you were talking about. That would be so helpful. Mike, you started coming off mute. Do you have anything you want to add before we jump off?
No, I'm fine. And I'll look into that Teams meeting question that we had earlier. But I guess one thing to add on that one, I did play with a little bit during this, and I didn't have any luck. But
Okay.
it might have been because I was on this. So I'll just encourage anybody else who might have experience with the same question to chime in next week.
And then, Mike, anything, and well, and this is for anybody on the call, anything that you think would be useful for us to cover at this meeting as one of those basic items? I'm sure there's a lot of people who might be struggling with the same little issues. So the more that we can cover on this meeting, I think it'll be helpful for everyone. So thank you for following up on that. And I'll do it on my end as well, like I said. Well, you guys, we've gone 2 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap it up unless there's anything else anybody'd like to chime in with. All right. Until next week, you guys, thank you so much. And Jim, I cannot wait to talk about fleet next week. Thank you so much for offering to do that. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
So long.